You mentioned a little bit earlier the transition or Brett Favre being on the Vikings. So there's kind of possibly at the start of another one of those transitions from another quarterback. So specifically with the draft selections of Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers, I think a lot of people like to compare the two, but that as someone who was there, I was 4 months old when this selection happened. So take us through kind of not only maybe the reasoning behind the selection, both selections, but also the fan reactions to both Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers pick.
Well, I mean, to be honest, the fan reaction in both cases was rather similar because it was a pick that people didn't see it coming. They didn't really understand like why, when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback playing, the way he is, do you invest a first round draft pick in a guy that, you're not planning to have him play for at least a couple of years? And fans are always, they're always looking to the draft, especially those high picks in the draft for that immediate help at the position, at any position, to help the team make another run in the playoffs, get to a Super Bowl, whatever the case might be. So the fan reaction, seems similar to me. What I think that where I think the circumstances are very different, in a couple of respects. One, back in 2005, Ted Thompson was sitting there at 24. He did not make a trade. He did not move. Aaron Rodgers simply fell into his lap. And the Packers had him obviously very, very highly rated on their board, and just felt like, there was just no way you could pass him up. And the fact that, Brett Favre had already been hemming and hawing about retirement for a couple of years up until that point, it was a fortuitous run of events there for Green Bay to be able to get Aaron Rodgers when they did. Last year, with regard to the Jordan Love pick, as you know, Brian Gutekunst decided to traded a fourth round pick to move up to select Love. So that was different. We've heard Aaron Rodgers say he wants to play into his 40s. He said many times he would love to be able to play his entire career for the Packers. So the context there was very, very different from, Brett Favre back in 2005. I think, I'll admit, like, there are some elements to the rationale that I think are still difficult to understand when the Packers were coming off of an appearance in the NFC Championship game. But at the same time, I'll say this: 2018 and 2019 statistically were not the greatest seasons for Aaron Rodgers. If you're the GM and you feel like you maybe have to hedge against the future a little bit because you're not sure where things are going with the new head coach, you can't be 100% sure that Aaron Rodgers is going to go out in year 2 with Matt LaFleur and win an MVP. I can understand the pick from that standpoint. And then also simply just wanting to have a really good quarterback prospect to be able to develop. And, I won't get into I know there's all kinds of stuff being thrown out there right now in terms of what's going to happen and this and that and all this controversy about the contract. I shouldn't even say controversy, but speculation or whatever the case is with regard to Rodgers' contract. But I will say this, and I said it last year at the time, it's not totally out of the realm of possibility for Jordan Love to be the next Jimmy Garoppolo, that Aaron Rodgers, plays several more years for the Packers and Jordan Love ends up getting traded, without ever being any more than Aaron Rodgers' backup in Green Bay. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's definitely within the realm of possibility. So for me, where I sit, I'm like, hey, let's just let it play out and let's see what happens. And Aaron Rodgers just won the MVP. I think he's going to have another great year in 2021. And there's a lot of pressure on this team to get to the Super Bowl after coming so close the last couple of years. To me, that's what matters most for 2021. You worry about the future later.
Yeah, I would completely agree with a lot of things you said there. There's just some things like I understand the rationale, like you mentioned, on wanting to get ahead of future quarterback problems, because you see teams like the 49ers just 2 weeks ago, having to trade up a lot of draft capital to take a risk on a guy who they're going to most likely throw out there pretty early in his career. So I like the idea of getting ahead. And then there's just some stuff, like you also mentioned, that we'll never be able to know exactly, did they really like Jordan Love so much where they're saying, we might have to move on from Rodgers 1 or 2 years more early than we'd possibly like to, just because we really think that Jordan Love can be something special. But there's just a lot to play out on how he develops and all of that. So, Big B, what do you think is the biggest difference you could point to on the Packers in 2005 selecting a quarterback from California and the Packers in 2020 selecting a quarterback from Utah State?
Biggest difference, I would say, like Mike said, how Brett Favre was contemplating retirement, Rodgers really saying that he wants to play into his 40s. Two completely different scenarios, but I just can't wait to see how this all plays out with Jordan Love.